Alright guys, anybody doesn't know me, my name is Coby Verde. I am a bow tech for Alvarado Archery, and today we're going to do a setup on my new bow this year, the Hoyt Alpha X 30. This first year I'm actually going with everything is going to be totally Hoyt. So Hoyt stabilizers, I got a 8 and a 6. Hoyt back bar, you've got to have the Hoyt back bar if you are running a back bar on the new Hoyts. Instead of buying a new XL, I'm just swapping my old one from the carbon style bar over to the pick mount. And then a Integrate QAD. Let me grab it. Hoyt Integrate is the new MX2, it's supposed to be a little better dampening, smoother. I don't know, we'll see. I'm normally not a QAD guy. I actually normally prefer Hamskea, but I wanted to have everything matching on this bow this year. I'm not really going to do a review on the bow. There's plenty of guys out there that do reviews on them. But for specs wise, this is a 28-inch draw. I've got the number 2 mod maxed out, 28 inches, 80 pounds. If you're interested in the color, it's Wilderness and Kuiu Verde. And I went with white strings because I actually do plan on keeping the factory strings on here for a little while. I'm pretty fortunate I get to work on a bunch of bows in the shop, but I get to see the longevity of the strings too, but I've never owned any for myself. Anytime I get new Mathews or bow tech, pretty much any new bow I've got, I've almost immediately swapped the strings. But I'm gonna try these white ones for a little while, see how they work out. And I'm just gonna run through how I set up my bow, how I set up pretty much every bow that runs through the shop. Maybe give a couple of things to look for if you're setting up your own bows at home, or if you're going to a pro shop, maybe you're having trouble with it. Tuning, I see all kinds of nonsense on Facebook. But I'm definitely not the best bow tech in the world, but I've been doing this for 4 years now. I've been shooting since I was 3, so I've been around it my whole life. But we're gonna run through how I do it. I don't have my vise set up, so I'm kind of gonna be a little awkward with a few things. But start out, we're just going to get everything off of it. All the stickers, tags, stuff like that. Also, forgot to mention my Peep I'm gonna run. Like the number one question I get asked in the shop is like, what do you run? Or people ask what the other bow techs run. So this video will kind of cover sort of everything I run on my own personal bow, arrows I run, everything. But my Peep is a Hamskea Raptor Peep. I think this is a 1/8, if I remember correctly. It may actually even be a little too big for this. But it was the only one I had free here in my table, so. But it's a 1/8 Hamskea, I believe it's 1/8. And then my arrows are gonna be Victory V-Force 300s. These are just the gamers. They're not the elites. I've got arrow saw, arrow square. I square everything before I insert it. These spin really good, fly really good. Shot them out of my V3. They shoot really good. And we actually even may do a speed test in the V3 70. It's actually at 76 pounds right now versus this. It's supposed to be at 80. We'll check it once we get it all set up. Normally Hoyts come in a little hot, a little over 80. But we may even do that. And if it stops raining, we're gonna do a full side in, get some groups with it, see how all that goes. So first thing out of the box, I'm gonna get the Hoyt Integrate out. So I'm gonna put the QAD on here. The first thing I'm gonna do, actually, you can use the black cord it comes with. It's QAD, the new MX2. But you can use the black cord. There's nothing wrong with the little black cord. But since I got white strings on the bow, I'm going to swap it over to a white cable for my rest cord. Let's get this little Allen key out, see if I don't lose it. pull this off. All right. Super simple to put a new rest cord on these integrates. The other Q80s can be a little complicated. They've got a little rubber thing you've kind of got to wiggle around and get in there. D-Loop is BCY number 24. It's pretty soft. I like it for a D-Loop. I like a softer D-Loop. That should be plenty. Oh yeah. But I do like a softer D-Loop. Seems to be a little more forgiving. I know a lot of the old school D-Loops were pretty tough and rigid. So put that through there. I'll recut the end, and I'm already losing parts. Where am I? There they are. I'll recut the end off, flare it out, put a big knot on the end just like you would a D-Loop. The AC is blowing right on my flame. Let that cool for a second. Kind of make that end ball up good. I always want to make sure you let that cool, or you will just pull it through the rest. I've done that before. So make sure that's cooled good. Put it back on your rest. Take your little Allen key and your little Allen bolt. Put it back in there. Get it all lined up. Listen to my dog barking in the background. Okay. Alright, so got the new cord on the rest. These rests are pretty simple. They send you a whole bag of Allen keys. Also has some felt in there. And then these little, I don't know if you can see it or not, these little, like, I think I call them little football or horseshoe mounts or something like that. I pretty much never put those on. I'll always run it through the cable. Wrong size. Just a little better. I think you don't take a chance of crimping your cable or messing up your cable. So to take the Integrate, put it on, you pull this little plate off. There's a little bolt, goes right there. Pull that bolt off. Take that little plate off, and then there's going to be another smaller little clamp there. And actually I'll have to steal Allen wrench out of this bag because I don't have one that small out. I'll just steal it out of the bag. So you just loosen that little tiny Allen right there. And there's actually an indicator right on the side of that clamp. There's a little indicator. And let me go ahead and take the bow out of the press. There's going to be an indicator also right on the side of the bow. So you're going to line the indicator up on the rest with the indicator on the bow, and you're going to clamp it down. That should start you at 0. So this rest should come from the factory. Everything bolt up, pretty much plug and play. This little clamp right here is actually the clamp that holds the rest in place. That bigger plate is not the main clamp holding it in place. Okay. So we got that on there, got that lined up. You don't want to like absolutely wrench on this thing. You just want to get it pretty snug. There's really not much in archery parts that you really want to be wrenching on. So once you get that on there, put your little plate back on, put your screw back in there. And what this other side plate does is basically work as like a reference. So if you look, we're set now on 0, lined up right with that mark on there. And there should actually even be a little thing in the Q80 bag to cover up your burger hole, because you're not going to be using that. Okay, got that on. Rest is on, working. Hoyt, with this new Alpha X, they've actually a couple of their older bows too, they put little cutouts right here in the riser to run your rest cord through, so it's not having to come around the riser, put extra wear and tear on that. We're gonna leave that loose for just a second. The next thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is pull this Picatinny adapter out. So I'm gonna take my carbon bar, take it apart. And this is definitely probably going to throw my second and third axis off, but we'll fix that later. It's not a big deal to fix that. So this right here has a little keyway. It's just gonna go right in a little slot here. Pop that in the slot, don't put it on upside down. And then take your bolts, run them back through. And I like to push it just to start. They give you a little bit of play in this mount to adjust your axis on. So you can kind of see there's a little bit of movement there. To start, I like to push it as much as I can to one side and kind of use the sight and line it up and square it. Just as a starting point, so it's not absolutely super crooked just to start, but semi-straight-ish. So once that's on, loosen the little Allen on the side, and I'm just going to put it on the middle pick mount for right now. Again, you don't want to get overly carried away with tightening stuff on really any archery equipment. So that's on, that's on. All right, before I do my D-loop, I'm gonna throw my Peep in the bow. Just because it's gonna cause the string to twist, and I wanna get that twist out before I even put my D-loop on. Well, not necessarily get the twist out, but I wanna get the Peep in there so it's twisted as much as it's gonna be. I may have to kind of adjust where it's sitting and everything like that. If you do run these Hamskea Raptors, they have little indicators on which way to go based on your string angle. Most people are going to run it to the side with the little notches. So I'm going to unpress the bow a little, just so it's just sitting in the press. It's no real tension on it. I'm going to grab an arrow. This is one of the major things at the shop that I run into. Guys will come in to get their bow set up. They won't bring me an arrow. And all nocks are not the same size. They're not the same size like throat inside the nock. They are not going to fit the strings the same either. So, I mean, that is going to throw off a lot of stuff if that's wrong. So, please, guys, if you're taking your bow to a shop, whether it's you come to me at Alvarado or you take it wherever, take an arrow with you so that the tech can fit your D-loop to actually match your nock size. You don't want it super snug, and you also don't want a ton of play. Also, you want your nock to be fairly movable on your D-loop, or on your serving, on your center serving. Like, I'm setting this up for lighter nocks because I'm going to shoot lighter nocks out of it, but if I was to run even this other factory nock from V3, it still fits good. It still slides easy. It still moves just fine. It's not pinching the string whenever you try to put it on. It's not overly tight in any aspect. So I'm gonna put that on there. And since I don't have my vise set up, I'm not gonna be able to actually level it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take a little piece of D-loop, or actually this will be my D-loop. And my lighter. And go ahead and burn one into my D-loop. Go ahead, tie my top mark for my D-loop. And I am going to put Nock sets on here. I'm just doing this just to hold the arrow for a minute. This QAD makes it pretty simple because it's going to, should already be everything lined up from the factory how it should go. So I'm going to eyeball it square with my burger hole. So once you get that pretty straight, use that D-loop to hold it right there in place. And then I'm going to put it back in the press and tie my Nock Set on the bottom side before I move my D-loop. And I think I'll go with white everything. So get my Nock Set here on the bottom. This is another thing I see a lot of guys, even techs, going freaking crazy with the Nock Sets. You don't need a giant Nock Set. You don't need 6 rows of serving tied on there for your Nock Set. I normally do 3 on the bottom. If I even put one on the top, I normally do 2. I actually probably won't even put one on this bow because the string angle is not going to be extreme. I'm not going to deal with a lot of knock pinch. With this ATA and my draw length, it's not going to be a super tight pinch knock. So I probably won't even put one on the top of this bow. So cinch that down real good. Pull that arrow off. Pull that off. Burn these down. And there's also even a couple other tricks. Like I know Levi Morgan, when he ties his Nock Sets in, he'll take and he'll put a little dab of super glue right on the knock, or on the knot to hold it in place. Throw this away just to keep it from ever fraying, anything like that. So we're going to put the arrow back in there, make sure our knock fits good. You want just a tiny bit of play, which is pretty much what we've got right now. We're going to tie the D-loop for the bottom, and we are going to tie it fairly loose. I'm not used to tying a D-loop in the press. It's kind of weird. I'm not used to it. Alright, so get that right there. Going to cut it. And I've kind of gotten in the habit now, I learned this from Levi Morgan too, of pulling my D-loop off. I used to burn it right there next to the string, and that probably wasn't a good idea. But I had watched other techs do that at other shops, and I was like, it's okay. But started doing this now, pull it apart, burn it up here so it's away from the string. Don't have to worry about it. Burning the center serving, getting any of the strands hot, anything like that. So I'll bring it off, burn it. And I think you can get a little bit better ball on the end of it right there versus being down on the bottom by your string. Let that cool off for a second. I'll take this back through here, and I then tied it wrong again. Now you got me all confused. Now I'm all confused. Why am I tying this D-loop wrong? There we go. Once I get that right there, take my pliers. And I don't want to like super snug this down super tight because we are probably going to have to move it to get all the peep straight and everything. So once you're done, you should have a finished product look something similar to like that. Now guys that put these freaking giant Nock Sets, they'll have D-loops that are 1 inch wide, and you really don't need that unless you're shooting you really don't need it in this case, but shooting a freaking like 27-inch axle with a 30-inch draw with some kind of extreme knock pinch. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my rest cord into the down cable here. try to get it right in the center best I can. A lot of times I'll even count the serving, or if you have two different colored strings and cables, that makes it really easy. So looks like my Peep's going to be slightly crooked. That may not even be the right height, so we'll see. So we've got all of it put together. Here's what it looks like assembled. So I'm going to draw my bow now. If you're doing this at home, be careful. Don't shoot a hole through your wall or something. But I'll draw my bow and probably get Kason to help me line my Peep up. It's a good thing to do it about in the middle of your sight tape. I don't even know if this sight tape is going to be right for this bow, but we're going to guess it right there and see how it is. Bring it down. Down a little more. That's about good. Okay. So, got the height right. Also, whenever you do that, I just left this cord loose right here on the cable for my rest. That's kind of like a way to auto time your rest. Leave it loose, don't tie a knot in it. Draw it back and it'll pretty well put it right where it needs to be. So my Peep actually straightened up quite a bit when we slid it down. So I may have to mess with it just a little, but it won't be much. So now what I'm going to do is take a Sharpie. I'm going to put a little mark on my rest cord here. And I'm going to tie a knot in it and burn it so that the knot is right where that mark is. And guys, too, another thing that work on your bows at home, and say you get your rest timing perfect after 300, 400, 500 shots, if your strings have stretched, your rest timing is not going to be perfect anymore. That is not like a do it once and it's done forever. If your strings stretch, your serving is going to move everything, so you need to check that when you do like a full tune up on your bow, because that is not something that stays the same forever. Burn that. Slide that back through. Okay. Now I'm going to tie my Peep in. I guess I'm going to go with white. I'm going to do white everything on this bow. So how I'm going to tie my Peep in, there's 100 different ways to tie in a Peep. Everybody thinks theirs is the correct way. But I don't really care what the correct way you think is. I'm going to do it the way I like it. If you come in the shop and you don't like the way I tie in a Peep, tell me and we can tie it in a different way. But I don't think there's really any one way that's the best. I know there is one way that holds it extremely, extremely well. And I do tie Peeps in like that way sometimes. If it's like a big Peep having trouble with it moving or something, but it's really not necessary most time. But basically what I'm going to do is going to be constrictor knots on the top and the bottom, but I'm going to do it all out of one piece of serving. So make sure you count the number of wraps you do on the top so that you can make them match on the bottom. So once I did 5 and 5, I believe it was, and then I'll go through and come through one side of the string, and then I'll just work my way down the string on that one side alone. So Try to count how many you do right here too if you do want to do it this way. I know it's not like a super in-depth way, you probably can't see it real great from there. If anybody wants to see how I do this, it's the same way. Levi Morgan's got a video on it. There's several people that have done videos on how I tie this, how I'm tying this knot in, tying this Peep in here. But if anybody wants me to do it, I can. If anybody even watches our videos. And then burn it. Burn that one, and burn this one. Okay. Now that we've got it all tied in, I'll check the twist of it one more time. So we're good on the Peep height, I believe. All right, next up, I am going to bolt my stabilizers on. This bow, I'm kind of trying something new, so I'm going with a 8 and a 6 instead of the 15 and 12. Let's see how I like it. People say, and like the report I've kind of gotten back from customers and stuff, they've kind of been liking the short stabilizers on here because of the mount on the front. I'll show it in a second. The bar mounts so far forward on the riser, it's almost like you're running a longer bar than you really are. And then I don't even think I own a 6-inch stabilizer. Like, this is the smallest stabilizer I own now. I have no idea where I'm actually gonna like this at, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it right now. And then I'll play with it later and see kind of where I'm gonna like it. But I just like a lot of things Hoyt's got going on. And the main thing that I like about this bow versus the bows in recent years, the one thing I did not like about the Hoyts was their back wall was super, super squishy. I like a pretty firm back wall, even like whenever some of my primes, my older primes were limb stop bows. I really like that. So this year it seems like they kind of got the back wall thing situated. If you're watching like the review videos, you'll see you can actually flip the draw stop itself, and you can change it like between an extreme hard feel and like a little more softer feel on the back wall. I like it to be a very firm, hard back wall. And also, right now I have this bow at 85% let off. I am going to swap it to 80% let off if I can find my torch bits. That is the full setup. I don't have it set up here to paper tune. We just moved like 2 months ago, so I don't have everything set up. So I'm not gonna paper tune this bow today. I am, however, gonna go shoot it, and I may even actually shoot a fixed blade out of it. That'll kind of give me an idea of the tune of the bow. So if it'll stop raining here in a minute, I don't think it's going to for another few hours, but once it stops raining, we're going to go outside, get some shots in with this thing, get it sighted in, try to get a sight tape, maybe even go out as far as we can go. We may even try to get to 100 today. Got it outside, did the whole setup. The only thing did not do is paper tune, so not really that worried about it at the moment. But right now we're going to take the first shot. I think I was just straight left. Way left. Let's bumper left a little bit. May need to slide my bar over a little bit. not close. Those dots are a little bigger than what I really like to zero on. So we're gonna shoot. I'm gonna shoot at the O in block. It's pretty close. Let's go grab it. I said at like 44. So I'd rather shoot low because if I go over and it's going in the pond, I don't want to fish another arrow out.
Another?
Another. This has happened before. Actually, pretty good. Let's try another one. That one looks pretty good too. They're both on the bottom side of the dock. Ooh, that was me. That was a bad shot. Playing that one on the wind. There we go. One more 50-yard group. We'll go get a sight tape for it, and we'll come do some long bombs here in a little bit. Exactly. Should have plenty of clearance. Oh yeah. Shit, I can go 120. Left. Flew good.
Full track.
Low left. That one looked really good. It's about an inch left. First, alright, we said we're going to do a comparison of the V3. It's got 75 pound mods. We're about to check the weight on it. We're going to do V3 31 versus Hoyt Alpha X 30. I know they're not the same year model bow, but people looking to buy a new bow will probably be coming from something like this, or a Triax, or a Verdix, or something, or even an older Hoyt. But this is a pretty good comparison to what you could expect buying a newer model bow versus one 3 or 4 years older. So let's check the poundage. Poundage is 76.808. 440 grain arrow, 28 inches. $293. Okay, 2024 Hoyt Alpha X 30. Let's Same thing, 28 inches, but it's 80 pounds, supposed to be. Let's check the poundage on it. And it is just under 80, 79.46. Alright. Same thing, 440 grain arrow. Let's see what she shoots. .304, so 10 feet per second faster. We'll do this one for fun too. 2024 Lift. This bow is actually turned down just a little bit. Not exactly sure. I think it's going to be like 65. Zero this. What is it, 29 inches?
Yeah.
So 29 inches. 60, right at 65, 64.7. Don't really know what this arrow weighs, but a good hunting arrow weight. Let's see what this one shoots through the chrono. 277. Hoyt wins.
At a higher poundage.
15 higher pounds.